KTAA 1050 AM, 106.5 the station behind. Good afternoon to the Williamson Taxsaver and More show. I'm Mark Westwood, and of course, right here next to me, if you're looking on the radio, that's right, we do have vision on the radio. It even says Palm and there. Hello. No, okay. Anyway, we do have video on catch.com or kick.com or YouTube or Odyssey. Also, so you can see us here live on video. And if you're looking at me, Don Williamson is right to my left-hand side here. Good afternoon, Don.
Good afternoon. Am I on?
You are on. If I do that, yes, you're on.
Okay. Good afternoon.
And he even gave you applause. Hey, you even got some applause there.
Hey, you know, this time I want to. Usually I talk about property tax savings programs and more, and this is part of the and more again. Something that because I'm experiencing it, I'm sure there's thousands of people out there that are too. And I want them to be sure that they look out for both their credit cards and their checking accounts.
There's all kinds of scams going on, isn't there?
And you could do, I believe the one thing that the TV said, you can't believe a lot of it, but it said you can do all that stuff and still get hit.
Yeah.
Because I looked over every month my bank statements.
Best to just be vigilant. Always check.
My checking account statements, and yet I got hacked. And it took a number of months to find it because I no longer get my canceled checks back.
So this is a personal story with you. Maybe you want to share it with the folks in Radio Land here.
Yes, that's what I intend to try to do.
All right, well, you know.
Because they got to be vigilant too, and I was checking my statement over every monthly.
Yeah, look for the telltale signs. If you get a letter or mail from somebody else at your mailbox that's not your name and you've lived there for 30 years, then, you can do that. We're going to have Joe Marmoleo here today, too, by the way, on the second half of the show. So Joe just arrived at the studio, and we'll invite him in and sit down. Joe will be talking about something at the second half of the show. I'll tell you about it at break.
Well, the thing I want to tell people is this. If you're lucky enough that you don't have any auto pays and you don't have any auto deposits, it's real simple then. If they do hack you, you just cancel that and get another credit card or another bank account, and it's no problem.
It's a lot of hassle, though.
Not that bad. But if you have auto pays, like I had a bunch of them, and they hack it, then you got to shut them off, so you can't just cancel it immediately, or they ain't going to get paid.
It happened to me with a business. I had a coffee house years ago. Alan Bartleman, sitting in the studio, is going to start a new show on Thursday, Juneteenth at 7 p.m. called The New Progressive. News for Eric, because he's going to be your board op there. So anyway, we are, tell you what, back in the day when I had the coffee house, all of a sudden I got a bank statement. It had more money in it than I should have, really a lot more money. And then I called the bank, and they said, well, we don't know why. And this is in the days before the Internet and before we could go on and look at our bank accounts on the Internet. And so they did some research for me, and they found 3 very large deposits that I had made. And what had happened was it was part of a check scam, what they call check kiting scam, where they changed my address, ordered new checks, and they did that to several other accounts, and then took checks from that account, wrote a check on their accounts that may not have the money, put it into the other bank account at the end of money, inflating my bank balance, and then coming in and taking all the money out. And sure enough, if I had not reported and been honest and said, hey, I got more money, I'll just leave it there, they would have gotten that money plus my money, and I would have lost. But because of that, I didn't. But I did get some very heavy questioning. They were trying to figure out if I was the one doing it or not. But it was a hassle, and I had to change my bank account. And at the time, I had to change some auto payments and things like that. And, of course, you don't always think of all those name me all your auto deductions from your bank account, as the commercial on the TV says, and you won't be able to do it.
No, I had too many, and I had some of them on my credit cards. I got 2 credit cards. Some were on one, some was on the other. Some were on my, most of them was on the checking account. and that was my main checking account. So, it's I found out today because I happened to see. I don't know if I should say the name of the company or not.
No.
It's not their fault, but it's a veteran company that insures your property. And I saw them on my checking account that, whoops, they weren't getting paid. So I called them immediately when I got out of the bank and talked to them, and the lady was real nice. And first thing I did was get her paid. I said, "Here, I'll pay you. Can you take a credit card?" Yep, they can take a credit card. So I gave her the credit card, got the payment paid. Now I say, now I need to put you on a new auto pay on my new checking account because it's been changed. Well, because they took it payment with the credit card, I said, "Can you do auto pay with a credit card?" She said, "Yes." Really? And I expected them to do like the bank does. You got to have a form. And you got to get the form, fill it out, send a void check with it, and send it back in order to get it on your checking account. So I figured they'd do that there. No, there's no check, of course, to do that with. So she just took the information over the phone. I'm on auto pay. Bam, just like that.
And I got to tell you what, don't try to stop that auto pay. That becomes even more impossible. But I tell you, Don, try to avoid that if you can. But the only way to prevent this kind of stuff is, first of all, to be vigilant, and then be vigilant.
Well, but I was being vigilant. Every month
I'm not saying you weren't.
I checked my statement.
Uh-huh.
And if they had not stopped several years ago giving me my canceled checks, I'd have caught it right away.
And I'm talking to listeners out there, too, just to our listeners. Please be vigilant because about maybe 2 years ago, I did a charge at Walmart. Not a big deal, a small charge. And I did it at the Walmart in Redlands. And I got a call from Bank of America. That's my bank. I shouldn't probably have said that on the air. But I got a call from my bank that said, you did a charge in Redlands, and now we're seeing like the Walmart in Denver, Colorado. Did you give somebody your information? I says, absolutely not. And, of course, then I had to change my debit card, my credit card, and everything else. And then, like you said, all the auto pays and everything else get all messed up. So it's a tough deal. So you got to guard your information. Don't give anybody your information that is not an authorized merchant. Watch at gas pumps, by the way. That's the leading way that they skim information. They have skimmers on your credit card. You go out there into your credit card and you scan your debit card or your credit card at the gas pump. Make sure there's the only one thing on that, and that is their own. Because sometimes they very carefully put a little cover on there that actually scans your debit card as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're getting your information. They're in a parked car 300 feet away probably or something like that, and they're getting your information.
And always take your receipt with you. So many times I walk up to there's the last person's receipt sitting there that somebody could easily take.
Yeah, and once you're done with receipts, tear them up. Don't leave them in your car. Don't leave them around. Don't leave receipts from restaurants because even though you don't have your number on it, first of all, they're going to see your bank. They're going to see your name. They might even see your signature, of course, if you've a carbon copy or something like that. So they get 3 things out of 5, and away they go, and then they can kind of Google the rest and get the rest. So you got to be careful. It's a mean, mad world out there full of people who are from other countries, who are from our country, from anywhere and everywhere that are trying to make a fast buck on you.
Oh, it's not just from other countries. It's right here also.
Oh, yeah.
So it's you got to be very vigilant.
Never, ever give a bill collector or anybody your credit card information.
When I walk away from the gas pump after I'm done using the credit card, I hit clear, cancel. And what burns me up to no end, a lot of time when you say print the receipt, you don't get it printed.
Yeah.
The machine doesn't work, which sometimes I wonder if they do it on purpose because now you got to go in if you want to take the time to go in and get it.
Absolutely.
And probably while you're in there, you just might buy a soda or some candy or potato chips or something while you're in there.
Absolutely.
Or a beer, whatever.
So, I heard old Eric in the control room go, yeah, beer.
Well, it occurred to me that some people, I,
Don't
I
do
don't
that.
drink alcohol,
Okay.
and so I'm no fun. But I drink a lot of too many sodas.
Yeah.
And
Whenever you lay your hand on the table, it goes out over the air.
now I got
You
a
hear
new
that
kick.
thump.
A new kick. I'm getting vitamin water because my doctor says knock off the sodas,
Uh-huh.
and so he wants water. So I like flavored water. In fact, it's enhanced with vitamins.
I'll
Vitamin
try
water.
that. A little vitamin water with some vodka. Anyway, that's been a good segment. Very, very
So-
interesting segment.
So anyway,
And
be
we
careful, be
appreciate that.
cautious, and I got a new one. People that's got solar.
Uh-huh.
People's got solar. I got a new wrinkle. One of these auto pays was Southern Cal Edison, so I was trying to get them changed to the new one, and come to find out, it's not there. And it turns out that they got me on a paperless billing once a year. So during the year, they don't even do it. And so I didn't know that my solar had quit functioning last September. So it's jumped. So they want me to pay them $2,700, $2,700. Now, luckily, I bought this thing 6 years ago, and I got a 10-year warranty. I bought it through Costco, and Costco stands behind it too. So I got, yay, Costco, they're behind me to make sure they do me right. So now they got to come out and fix it. And this is nothing new because when I first got it, it didn't operate right a couple of times. And after 2 years, they got it working. It was some connection. About 2/3 of my panels wasn't even working.
Gosh.
So now they got to come fix it. Then they're going to be, they know what it come to, so they'll be able to figure it out. And hopefully I won't have to pay that much.
Sounds
So
great.
watch your solar. People that own solar, make sure every month that everything's okay. And that's it.
All right. Well, that takes care of that segment. Donald Williamson, Taxsaver and more, and always your tax tips or how to help people.
Or how to
and
save
things.
money.
How to save money. So we're going to move on to something else here. A little something. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to bring Joe Marmoleo in after the break here. He's going to talk about his new business he's starting up, and new young person used to work at KCAA and does some sales for us and things like that. So we're going to talk about that. But first of all,
You're going to tell people how to save money on mobile homes.
absolutely, absolutely, especially if you live in Ukaipa. So give you some background. I'm not just a radio guy. I'm kind of active in the community, various different and sundry organizations. And one of them, I made the mistake. No, I mean, I got elected from the mobile home park community in Ukaipa. It's called the YMRA. That's Army spelled backwards, by the way. The Ukaipa Mobile Home Residents Association. And there's 41 mobile home parks, 42 if you count the park that has RVs in it. You know, I'm on the radio right now talking about Kaipa mobile home parks. And, you know, I wanted to talk to Ed Timmons, who's with my mobile home committee as well, see if I could get him on the air. And so if he would call in at 383-1000, I would love it, Ed. We'd put you on the air. 909-383-1000, but he might be at work. I can't really talk to you personally on my phone right now, but I'm going to hang up on you, Ed. But if you can't, you can't. If you can, you will. And I tell you what, we're going to talk about mobile homes right now. In particular, every 2 years, it's called a biennial rent review. The city of Ukaipa, which has a rent control program, which we're very grateful. We have a healthy rent control program that is in place, that is governed by a municipal code in Ukaipa. It comes under the mobile home renters law, and the line is ringing there, right there. And I believe that is probably Ed Timmons. And just 1 second, we might have Ed on the line. But we have a healthy mobile home rent control program. And is that Ed? So my little thing worked here. It's not too professional. We did it. Hello, Ed Timmons. Hello, how are you? You're on the air.
Hi, Ed.
Hey,
Pretty good. Surprise, surprise. Whenever you know me, I'm in radio. You might end up on the
right.
radio. Ed is a very smart individual. He is my finance director, treasurer, and information analyst and systems analyst for the Ukaipa Mobile Home Residents Association. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, we just started into this, Ed. We're talking about the mobile home, the biennial rent review coming up in front of the Yucaipa City Council in a special meeting on Monday, June 9th. And of course, we have a YMRA meeting. I'm going to underscore this several times on Saturday, June 7th. And that is going to be at the Mosley Museum, or Mosley Museum, however you pronounce that, in Yucaipa on Bryant Street. So, Ed, welcome, and we're glad you're here because we're going to talk about this biennial rent review and what we've been doing. By the way, Ed, I don't know, have you gotten your newsletter yet that I mailed out?
Yes, I have received it today, actually.
Oh, good. That means the post office is doing their job, and that means a lot of everybody got it. 350 people got that, by the way. Plus, I have a few extra to give out at the meeting. But it has a very succinct review in that. I'm also going to place it on our Yucaipa Mobile Home LifeToday.com webpage momentarily after the show. But it's just a good review of what we're doing and where we're going. So first of all, I'm going to give this to you for a minute to describe the rent review program and the biennial rent review, just briefly for our listeners.
Yeah, no, fantastic. There's some protections that are in place in Yucaipa in order to protect renters, and that includes individuals who are on a lease now as well. There are some rent controls in place to protect our population here of seniors and family parks. And so, what we see in this biennial review is the request by some stakeholders to increase rents, or the caps of how much rent can increase in a month, and pass-throughs. And what pass-throughs are is if the mobile home park owner takes on some additional expenses through property taxes or capital improvements, as they're requesting to pass those expenses on to the park residents through their rent.
So before we go a little further, there used to be two categories: people who signed a lease with the mobile home park owners, and that lease was certain terms and conditions and rent on that lease. And then there was people under rent control. And when you signed up and bought a mobile home, if the mobile home was already on rent control, you got to stay on rent control or choose a lease. For a new mobile home, they could just place you on a lease. But most people in Yucaipa in the 41 mobile home parks are on rent control. I made that choice 23 years ago to stay on rent control. I'm very glad I did. But now the state came through with Assembly Bill 1127, I believe it is, and said everyone is on rent control. So everyone
That's correct.
on the state of California is in rent control. And then they placed a cap on it.
Right, I believe it was 5%.
5% is what it is. And it's just a 5% cap. So they can't raise it
It's
more
a
than
maximum
of 5%. There's a ceiling there, possibly a floor. And I believe the federal rate is 2%. That would be the floor. So that it can't be any less than 2%, but not any more than 5%. Doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. But in Yucaipa, we have an ordinance, 0.0533, but whatever. I can't give you the exact ordinance number. But it says that it is 4%. Currently, the ordinance is 4% of the cap, okay, capped at 4% of the rent, or 100% of the CPI. Correct?
Right, which was an increase from the 80% it was.
Yeah, and in 2022 or 2023, when they did the last biennial rent review, and these rent reviews that the city undergoes take about 6 to 8 months, I've found out. So it could have started in 22 and ended in 2023, but the last one seems to be 2022. And they raised it from 80% of CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to 100%. So really, we're at 4%. They can only raise it to 5%. That's only 1% more. But what we're really concerned about with is the pass-throughs, correct?
That's correct.
And so, first of all, we've met with our constituents that's, we're the board of the YMRA, so I refer to our mobile home residents, especially the members, as our constituents. And we've heard them, we've talked with them, we've discussed with them, we've had board meetings. I actually and another gentleman on the board met with Jennifer Crawford. Jennifer Crawford.
Right.
And she
Our
is
interim city manager.
our interim city manager for the city of Yucaipa, and we had about a 3-hour discussion on all this. We came to some conclusions and back and forth, but what we're kind of going with, of course, we don't want to raise our own rent, is to say we're going to stick at 4%, and that's what we're recommending. The city council is having a special meeting on Monday at 3 p.m. at City Hall, and so we're going to appear before them, make our comments, and hope and pray they stick with the 4%, and that they strike down the pass-throughs. And these pass-throughs are, let me see, help me out here, property taxes, MNOI, capital improvement, registration, and then CPI. A CPI isn't a pass-through, but CPI is the definition of what the Consumer Price Index was. And if I'm not mistaken, they were including other metros, right, for that?
Right. They were requesting the LA metro area CPI, which in our research has had a higher year over year and quarter over quarter CPI than San Bernardino Riverside area.
If you're living in Orange County, for instance, if you're living in Orange County and you're making $100,000 a year or less, you're considered at the poverty level, because that's how much more rents and cost of living and the consumer price CPI is.
Right. I don't even think you could buy a mobile home in Orange County making $100,000 a year.
And now, and we're going to continue this. If you could stick with us in just a few minutes, we got to go to a commercial break. We're going to talk about this. But now Governor Newsom is talking about an asset test of $2,000 for people on Medi-Cal, Medicare, and an EBT and food and SNAP. That if you have more than $2,000 in assets, you may not be eligible for that, because he's trying to cut back because the state has so many people. There's a bunch and a big concern here. We're going to come back for about 5 minutes and talk about this after the break. If you'll stick with us, Ed Timmons, we appreciate it. We've been speaking with Ed Timmons from the Yucaipa Mobile Home Residents Association. I'm Mark Westwood and Don Williamson, and we'll be back with Joe Marmoleo here in just a few seconds. We'll be back.
KCAA.
Community matters. As the weather warms up and school is out for the summer, swimming is often a way to cool down and have fun. But keep in mind safety first when children and bodies of water come together. Whether it's at the beach, lake, swim center, or in the backyard, being safe and cautious is always important. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 4, and the second leading cause of unintentional injury death for children ages 5 to 14, according to the Center for Disease Control. The CDC estimates there are 11 drowning deaths each day in the United States. In San Bernardino County, from 2020 to 2023, there were 47 drowning deaths. Last year, 7 people, 3 of them children, drowned in the county, according to Safe Kids Inland Empire. Education is really what's going to make the big change, and it needs to start early. Swim lessons as young as 6 months old, CPR and first aid classes can save lives. Drownings often happen quickly and quietly. So far this year, there have been 9 reports of near drownings involving children in Riverside County. In those cases, First 5 Riverside reaches out to connect families with swimming lessons. The majority of near drownings involving young kids occur in backyards and pools during non-swim time when adults aren't watching. Water safety experts emphasize the importance of having a significant sober supervisor keeping an eye on everyone in the water, and access to and proper use of life jackets in open bodies of water and on boats. For a day at the pool, beach, or other bodies of water, it's recommended parents get their children bright-colored swimsuits so that they're easier to find in the water. Families can get free swimming lessons in Riverside County pools if they have exposure or access to an open body of water, especially if they're referred by someone at First 5 or another county department. In 2023, in Riverside County, of the 31 people who drowned to death, 24 were adults. We want to have fun out there with California's warm weather and beautiful waters, but we have to remember safety first. To learn more about safety or swim lessons, check your city's or your county's website. For Community Matters, I'm Lillian Vasquez.
106.5 FM and KCAA 1050 AM.
10:50 a.m. and 1.5. We'll have Joe here in just a few minutes. Yeah, we are just beaming to you live with 5,000 watts of power on 10:50 a.m. And I won't even tell you what it is on 106.5 FM, but yeah, we're coming to you. And I'm going to adjust my headphones if Joe, will you help me out here, Mr. Board Operator? Come over here and adjust the headphones because somehow I have no heads. I have no power. Can you turn that up for me, please? In here. I feel like you should be able to. I can't reach it, and I'm in the middle of a show. Can you do that for me, please? Anyway, I appreciate it. Just up a little bit. Yeah, somehow it just got switched. There we go. A little down a little bit, Nora. Sorry to do that. I had my headsets, and somehow or other you must have switched headsets on me. You switched headsets on me. That's what you did. Anyway, we're talking about mobile homes, and we have Ed Timmons on the line. Hello, Tim. Ed, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're just doing a little home business here in a second. Anyway, we're talking about the mobile home rent control program and the UKIPA biennial rent review. We were talking to our folks about how this works. We're talking about 4% or 100% of CPI, and we're pushing and bucking to keep it in place because the mobile home parks, the millionaire mobile home park owners have gotten substantial rent increases over the last, since actually 1997. Every time they have a biennial rent review, they get a little poke up. And they usually use the cap, not the CPI, because the CPI is sometimes 7% or 6% or 5%. So it's always usually higher than the cap. And the way this works is it's 4% or 100% of the CPI now. And of course the cap is always lower, so they go with the cap. So we're trying to keep that cap down because
That's right.
Rent on these mobile home parks does increase as far as if you're a resident owner. And, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you can argue this point, but I think mobile home owners, not mobile home park owners, that's two different things. The owner of the coach, of the mobile home, pays a lot of their rent up front when they bring their mobile home in and plop it down, or they buy their mobile home, they pay for that up front because the park owner is just renting space. They're not providing sinks and basins and bathtubs and things like that. So, they pay their rent up front, a majority of it, and then they keep paying rent. I've lived in my mobile home for 23 years, so, the way it works is I get a little bill, and it has my base rent, and then it has my utilities and everything, and my base rent is pretty good. But I've been paying over the years, I paid for my mobile home. I fixed my mobile home up. I've maintained it. That's all that I have to do and insure it and all that kind of stuff. Mow the lawns or pick the weeds out of the rocks or whatever you got to do. And then on top of that, I've paid just about $80,000 to the owners of my mobile home park in rent over the years. And so
it's a heavy capital expenditure.
It is, just like anywhere living in Southern California. So, don't think, oh, well, you have such low space rent. No, it's not an apartment. It's not a condominium. It is something that is just space. It's land. And the infrastructure is paid for by the utility companies most of the time. So, and we pay utilities as well. So then we come to these pass-throughs. And we have a lobbyist that goes around Southern California. Her name is Julie Polly. She represents the Western Mobile Home Association, or the GMSOL, the Golden State Mobile Homeowners Association. And she likes to get anything and everything she possibly can, because that makes her little lobbying company work well. She's the wife of Philip Polly, by the way, who I went to high school with, and Philip Polly is a staffer for one of the senators in California now. Anyway, she likes to make her money doing that. Of course, she's going to go for the gusto. She's going to go for the gold, and that's what they're doing with these pass-throughs. Don't you agree?
Yes, yeah. They have stakeholders, and unfortunately, they're the mobile home park owners, and you get paid more when they get paid more, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And the amazing thing about it is, we had this comment period. We had this thing that was about 4 months long, going into it, starting back in October. And, we heard from 6 mobile home park owners out of 42 mobile home park owners. And some of those were just kind of mundane kind of comments. They weren't even about the rent cap or the, using CPI.
Right.
They weren't that. They seemed to be content. But of course, this lady, Julie Polly, is going for the gusto with these rent pass-throughs, and they want mobile home park owners to pay capital improvements and bust them up. And if they do something, they're supposed to come, by the way, with the MNOI. They call it, I don't know exactly what MNOI stands for, but it's capital improvements. They bust them up among the residents. So if there's 178 residents in the park, they divide the cost of that capital improvement among the residents, and then the residents all get that on their monthly statement they have to pay off over a number of years, or 20 years, or 30 years. That stuff starts to add up too. And, the average mobile home park owner, 70% are seniors, right?
That's correct. Yep.
And, of that, they have a fixed income, right?
A majority of our constituents do. They're on extremely tight budgets. Some are, they shared stories with the board and myself that they can't turn on their heating or cooling, when the weather's adverse, because they can't afford that extra bill.
Right. Yeah, and that's a shame. And last year we got a $190 COLA, cost of living adjustment. And, that could easily, when you add up 10, 15, whatever, 4% on top of that monthly per mobile home coach in the park, that adds up to a good amount of money. You do that monthly times 12, and that's, the increase that these mobile home park owners are getting. And, bless their hearts, their land increased threefold in the past 7 years. They've got a lot going on, and they're millionaires. Good for them. They made good investments. But there's
right.
been...
Some of our board members have spoken to some select park owners, and many of them that we've spoken with are okay with the way things are now.
Yeah, they're just fine with it. There's not been much protest. I've spoken with a couple, 2 or 3 myself, and of major parks in Yucaipa that I just happened to be sitting across the table from one at a luncheon I was at. And you are, and nice to meet you, and I'm the chair of the YMRA, and we started talking back and forth, and she was just fine. She was just fine with the way it is right now, so that's a good thing. But these pass-throughs are, capital improvements, property taxes, also one where you could raise. They want to raise if there's a new park tenant or resident, rather, 20% instead of 10%. Which is kind of extreme, but then they said, and it's not clearly defined in the staff report we got from the city of Yucaipa, but 10% or now 20% above the rent that was already there for everybody that moves into Yucaipa, or just people from outside the city of Yucaipa.
The wording wasn't clear on that, and as it was expressed to us, what it appeared to be was residents from outside the city moving into Yucaipa, but when we were diving into the verbiage on that, it appears that it's only for residents who are not familiar with that park. So could be another resident of another park in Yucaipa, but they're a new resident at this park in question.
And let's be serious, how many people move from one mobile home? I guess some do. In the park to another. Maybe if it's a better mobile home or something. But that's
it's not a majority of the case.
It's
right.
a very rare instance. And the way it was stated to us, it was if it comes, and maybe the staff misunderstood what they were saying too, that if it's somebody from outside of Yucaipa, a non-Yucaipa resident that moves into a park, then they're charged the 20%. But the way it is stated is there will be charged 20% no matter what, even if they're just moving in from outside of Yucaipa. For instance, if they decide to downsize and they have a house in Chapman Heights, they're a resident of Yucaipa, and they move into Chapman, into Crafton Hills, they could be charged 20% if they're a new resident in the park. So
right, and
they've got to clear that one up.
I just want to soapbox that real quick is the parks are, one of the words used in there is the vacancy of a unit, and so they were focusing on if the mobile burned down or if it was vacant for whatever reason. And going back to the capital expenditure of say you're buying a new mobile or moving a mobile in, or you've bought a mobile that's already been installed. The challenge here is that if you want to remove that mobile for whatever reason, or say the heirs of an estate want to move the mobile, a lot of the cases that we see for like a double wide, moving that mobile is almost 10 grand.
Oh,
and
instantly.
when you look at the space rent,
Tilting
right?
fees, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were paying space rent, you could have paid space rent for 2-3 years for the price of moving a mobile. And
the tilting
so-
fees to the state aren't cheap either. And tilting means the moving. That's just they use
Right.
the word tilting because they tilt the mobile
oversized
homes back and
loads,
forth, yeah.
etc. You know, and so the challenge here is that it's very easy for a mobile to become vacant by either pricing out the individual on a fixed income. You know, we're dealing with sensitive, vulnerable population here. You know, they're on fixed incomes. Even at the family parks, many people at family parks are on fixed incomes, and so what we want to do is try to protect those vulnerable individuals from unfair practices.
And then this unfair practice also, this Julie policy Polly put this in and wants to put this in, that you know, any business has a cost of operation. And say, for instance, insurance. We pay here insurance, whether it's your workers' comp insurance on employees, or you know, property insurance, or you know, anything, liability insurance. We have to pay that. Well, what Polly is kind of suggesting, and when it kind of put into this, was that we also do an insurance pass-through, whereby the insurance that the property owner has to pay on the park, on all of the roadways and thoroughfares and everything in the park that they have to insure the park. They want to bust that up and pay that, and then have the residents pay that too. So fortunately, I want to go through this real quick because we have to wrap this up because I have another interview here coming, Ed, and I really appreciate you being here. We've been talking with Ed Timmons on the Yucaipa Mobile Home Residents Association about the upcoming biennial rent review with the city of Yucaipa. So I want to break this down. There are some things, and we're not being too adversarial with the council, or actually with the city
Staff
managers.
recommendations, right.
Staff recommendations. First of all, on the rent adjustment, we just want to keep it at 4%, right where it is. And you know, they're already maxed at 100% of the CPI. The one good thing is that the staff agrees with us that the CPI shouldn't be Orange County, shouldn't be San Diego County or LA County or Imperial County. It should just be San Bernardino Riverside Metro, which is a defined CPI index since 2023. So that's the one to use. So we concur with the staff on that. We're in agreement with that. We're not in agreement. The staff wants to use option 3 as far as the rent adjustment, which is to raise it to 5%. But what they'll be in a sense doing is, and the city manager argues that they're afraid that if they don't raise it to 5%, the owners can come through with a special rent adjustment request behind, and then there's legalities and there's cost of processing, and they've got to do one park at a time. But there's no guarantee that if we do raise it to 5%, that won't happen anyway. So, you know, we want to keep it at 4% and keep it low because there'll be some wiggle room in the future. Because if it's capped at the 5% maximum ceiling, now they say with the floor of 2%, but that's, you know, that's a given anyway. We're not going to drop below 2%. It's already at 4%. We have some wiggle room. And we're already at 100% of the CPI, so there's nowhere to go from here if they raise it up 1%. Even though 1% doesn't sound like much, it is when it's all cumulative and it adds up. So we want to keep it at 4%. We agree with the CPI. The city does not agree with the rent pass-throughs, not rent pass-throughs, but registration, insurance, property taxes, and capital improvements. And we kind of concur with all that. What they want to do is leave the current scheme in place, and we concur with that too. So it's going to be an interesting meeting, but at the same time, I think people will be pleased, and hopefully will come through it pretty unscathed. Hopefully nobody will say, let's just scuttle the whole thing. That's my big worry, scuttling the whole rent control program. So we have to be careful how we negotiate it, but I think we've negotiated in front of it. And if you're a mobile home park owner, you're a mobile home resident, and you want to learn more about this, we're going to do another session on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. at Mousley Museum. And you'll be there, right?
That's correct.
Thank
I'll see you there.
Thank you, Ed, for letting me call you up at the very last minute. I tried to call you early this morning, put you on the spot, and then help add to the show and the
On the
information.
spot.
That's right. On the spot with Ed Timmons. Sounds like a great new radio show. We'll talk later. KCA 1050 AM. Thank you. 106.5 FM. The stations leave no listener behind. We are done with that segment now, and thanks to our tax assessor, Don Williamson, who probably has more questions now than ever. He was writing all this down. But how's that for a brief explanation?
Well, we're quite a match in a sense because a lot of the things that can help them out on your side of things as the past assessor and consultant for the BOE as well, because there's state laws that help property owners 1980 and after are on the property tax system. And for one thing, I'll bet you if you would ask the people that are on the property tax system, how many of them in a park have the homeowner's exemption, which is $7,000 exemption, which saves them a little bit of money every year. Because I bet you more than half of them don't have it.
And one thing I didn't mention when Ed was still on the phone, I meant to do it, is, UKIPA passed measure, I think it was A. I don't know the letter, but there was a measure passed. And it was measure A. Just this past November that says that there'll be a 1% sales tax increase to help them offset their balance in their budget. And they got that passed through, much to the help of the firefighters and police departments who joined in to get that passed. Anyway, long story made short, sales tax in UKIPA is now 8% instead of 7.25% of what it was before. But the bad thing for mobile home owners, and the kids of mobile home owners, when they have to sell that when that time comes, if their parents pass away, is that sales tax is included on those mobile homes, which means that raised the cost of selling that mobile home.
That's right.
And that's kind of adversarial to us as well. So it's like death by 1,000 little cuts. I'm going to use that on Monday. Death by 1,000 little cuts. And, the sales tax increase, if you want to increase the cap, if you pass some of the pass-throughs, we're going to put our seniors, 70% of which in these,
fixed income
are in fixed incomes. They're going to put them out of business and maybe make them homeless. And mobile homes are the last bastion of affordable rent. These people have lived in their mobile homes, some of them 30, 40, 50 years, and they've paid their rent up in advance by buying their mobile home, maintaining it, owning it, replacing it, the whole 9 yards. So that ends our segment on that.
There's a lot of low-income and disabled people in
Right,
mobile
and
homes.
I need to get to Joe Marmoleo because we brought him in here, and we only have a few minutes. But Joe, welcome back to KCAA.
Of course.
Joe
Thanks for having me.
Marmoleo, father of one, good friend, helped us move back in the day when we moved from the Carousel Mall.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I had a U-Haul stuff into a U-Haul when we moved.
And it's a lot different to be on this side of the mic. When I used to host my show, I was on that side, as the operator.
Yeah, but you have a sports show too.
Yeah, it was a sports and culture show, really trying to bring the community together.
And your coach was named Mo, right?
Yep, it was the Mo and Joe show.
The Mo and Joe show. Not to be confused with Joe Mo, but that was a good thing too. So, and Eric over here, he has his own show too. So I invite you in here because you have a spiffy new shirt on.
Yeah, so I just publicly launched our company. So it's Marm Media. We're a full-service marketing agency serving Southern California. And we really want to bring big ideas, bring local execution to our partners, and then bring big results.
So when Joe left here, he got a new job at a bigger radio station in Los Angeles.
Yep, I was working with ESPN Los Angeles, AM 710, and it was a lot of fun. I got a chance to work with a lot of sports teams. And
Joe loves sports, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm passionate about it. So I had a chance to work with sports teams, work with a lot of different businesses in the community, and really get a chance to learn what...
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, go Dodgers.
And Angels, too. I like them both.
They were the Angels partner out there, so we got a chance to be at a lot of Angels games and greet fans. My role there was the marketing coordinator. I was in charge of events and promotions, and now I'm really just bringing all that experience from there, from here at KCA, from a couple of the other stops I've had, into one business where I could come out here and be a resource to businesses and help them grow.
Yeah, and we're very proud of you. And you're now a father of young little JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
How old is he now?
7 years old.
It's amazing. You didn't even have a kid you weren't even in a relationship when I first brought you on board here.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't. So.
Yeah, working the microphone.
Mark his height
Yeah,
on the doorway every year. Remark.
Yeah.
have it. We have a door at my house. I bought my house from my parents in 2021. And we have a door in our hallway that has everybody's height from 1988 till now. And I keep telling my fiance that's the one piece of the house that's not getting touched or remodeled.
If you move, you got to cut the whole thing out there. But that's very, very cool.
It's Father's Day every year. I write his date. It's an easier one for me to remember.
So
There was one year he swallowed a penny on Father's Day, so it says Joseph, the year I swallowed a penny.
Joseph, plus 1 cent. They're no longer going to make pennies anymore.
I heard about
I hope
that.
you get that penny back because it might be valuable. Tell him push. Anyway, Joe, now to our listeners that don't understand what a media company is. What's
Yeah.
a media company?
So a media company, at least in my terms, it's a full-service marketing agency, and we're just providing solutions to businesses to help them grow, whether that's social media, if that's media strategy, if they want to get on the radio, if they want to
TV, cable,
TV,
digital.
cable, print, doing direct mailers.
So what these media companies do is they represent these various companies like KCAA, and they sell the client.
Yep.
And the client buys a media package. And then you take a small, especially with KCA percentage, no, about 15 to 17%, I believe, of the total value of that package for doing your work. And then the radio station or marketing company makes the majority of it. But you make a good little profit on that.
Yeah.
And what you don't have to do is represent just one company.
Yeah.
Because you could sell a media package and say, we're going to place it what we call across the board. And like, say, if you're doing radio, you could mention several other radio stations, plus KCA, and then KCA again, and then KCA again, correct?
Yep. And when people want to come out there and get their message across, get their product in front of the right audiences, and really achieve their goals, that's where we come in. We want to come out there and build a custom tailored marketing plan, a custom tailored communications plan, so that way you can put your messaging, your product right in front of the people that matter the most.
And you do a great job of this, by the way, because I've seen some of your media packages. In fact, you did some selling for us, and recently too. And you put together really dynamic packages and good sales plans and marketing strategies, and it's very professional.
Thank you so
And
much.
you went to school for this.
Yeah, I went to Humboldt State University.
Humboldt State University.
It's Cal Poly Humboldt now.
Cal Poly Humboldt.
Yeah, they
Oh.
recently got new funding from the state and became California's third polytechnic school.
Wow,
The first in
that's
Northern
very cool.
California.
So what do they mostly do at Humboldt?
They're definitely known for their cannabis culture up there.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of the professors, a lot of the students, the staff, the community are very cannabis friendly, and have been at the forefront for cannabis research and marijuana research.
It's a loving university, I got to tell you. And you worked at the radio station up there too.
Yeah, it was KRFH. It was an LP radio station. I hosted a show and actually won the show of the year for, I think 3 of the semesters I was in there. It was called the Backwood Lounge, and it was just a music show, interview local artists, play a lot of underground hip hop, and interview local athletes. It was a lot of fun.
Well, as the general manager of this station, you sell for us a little bit. I'm going to give you another show.
Oh yeah.
You can have the Backwoods show again. That would be great.
Oh, I'm excited. We're thinking maybe something like building your brand. We can have local businesses call in with their questions for marketing. We could have interviews where we interview local business owners and just really kind of talk about what they've done to build their brand.
That is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And so you just launched this, and you got some great T-shirts on Temu, was it?
Yeah.
Is it Temu?
No, this is a Target brand. I had for the very first shirt for the first incarnation. I actually do have a bulk order coming with some embroidered shirts, but this was a cricket. So
Oh, you did that, the emblem on cricket?
yeah, but I had a family member that said, "Hey, here we go. We'll get you out for your first Chamber of Commerce event last week." I just our company joined the
I
Claremont
like
Chamber
the
of Commerce.
logo.
Thank you so
The
much.
big M on there. That could be a W as well.
If any of you are familiar or used to go shopping here in the Inland Empire, the Montclair Plaza, this was their old, a variation of the old Montclair Plaza logo.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I grew up in the shadow of the Montclair Plaza and had that M above for years. It was a little bit more stylized and scripted, and I kind of made it a little
like
bit modern touch.
But my last name is Westwood. My first name is Mark. So you just turn that upside down.
It works perfect. You
Yeah,
have my card. It looks like an MW already.
I have my own gang symbol, MW. I.e. MW. Anyway, but yeah, I used to argue that M&Ms were actually M&Ws. And I said, there's W's in there too. You just can't tell. It's not M&Ms. It's M&Ws. And I had somebody on the playground once believing me. But, that's part of reaching out to people and communicating to people and knowing people and building rapport and relationships with people. And that's what a media company really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's all about relationship building and putting the businesses and brands' goals and needs first.
Do you have any questions, Don?
I got comments, but not to
Comments
that,
and questions.
but not so much that.
Okay.
Love to hear them.
And 4 minutes to show.
Has to do with people that have bought mobile homes more recently at a higher value, just like if they bought a house at a higher value. Things are coming down. Rents are coming down on houses. And he knows mobile homes more than I do.
Don, you would be rarely interested in one of my clients I work with. They're called Backyard Estates. They're an ADU construction company, full service ADU company. And they're coming out here and really trying to solve California's housing crisis, one step at a time, one back house at a time. And that company actually is on schedule to build about 50 ADUs for families here in the community, and most of them are multi-generational
Now,
families.
those ADUs, does that include that, what I wanted, a little tiny house I wanted to build in my backyard?
It
what
could have
it is.
been. Yep, that's most likely it. So
Additional
sometimes
dwelling unit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling
Yeah.
unit.
You can get a little tiny house in a kit form from Home Depot.
What's amazing about this, Donald Williamson was the 3-term tax assessor for San Bernardino County back in the day. The amazing thing is that the state has now made it possible that when you build this additional
ADU.
dwelling unit, ADU, that you can sell them separately.
Yeah. So the state has allowed it, but it's up to the cities to initiate it.
The cities do initiate.
Yep. So there's only one city in California so far that has allowed you to do that, and that's San Jose. So it's not too much in practice, but I'm really excited to see the work that we've been doing with them and want to continue doing some more work with some other businesses in the community.
And the reason he bring this up is because you've been representing an ADU company for
Yeah.
quite a while now. That's your new job.
Yeah, I'm doing a great job getting
So
the
you're
word out.
still working with that company, and this is a side gig?
Yep, they're one of my main clients. So
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. So you've incorporated that. Well, I'm Mark Donald Williamson. You hear that music?
I hear it, but the last thing, if people's valuation goes down below what the property tax says it's worth, they can file a Proposition 8 decline in value, and the assessor may be able to lower it.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Joe Marmoleo.
Thank
Hello again to Alan Bartleman, who's our audience today, our studio audience of one. Thank you to Eric Asario. I'm Mark Westwood. And that's all, folks. KCAA, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. We'll be back next Thursday at 3 p.m. on KCAA.
KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters